first and foremost thing is the RFP. What is RFP? I mean, most of you know, or for those who don't know, RFP is simple words, I can say, request for proposal, where client will look for an opportunity for an outsource. It can be many reasons why client wants to outsource some of his business or some of his services or product to any partner, and why it is important for him. First and foremost thing, for the reasons, I would say there are many reasons, but I can list down a couple of them. First and foremost thing is the skilled labor or the human resources availability in that zone is operating. And second thing is the cost anyway, which is definitely they try to optimize their cost. And third thing can be an idea generation, because if they work in a closed environment, they might lose out on some points where partner side they can generate some of the good ideas they can that can bring the betterness to the business, right? So that is where the RFP starts. RFP constitute of a couple of procedures, which is first is RFP will be rolled out to partners, and clarifications are shared from the partners to the clients, and the client will clarify them, and then partner will produce a proposal, and then comes is the partner evaluation from client, then the discussion of commercial will start, and then the partner induction. So what is request for proposal and how it works? So how request for proposal works? First thing is I'm comparing with both client and partner side, because these are the two angles we should know. RFP is not just for partners, RFP is for clients also. So this how it works is only for clients. I mean, most of the time we will never get to an opportunity to work at client. So I mean, those who don't know, I'll just share my thoughts about it. So first, what client will do is they have to identify their project and services that needs to be outsourced, and why it has to be outsourced has to be some business cases that they will build, and they have to understand their definite requirement, what they want to propose, what services or what product they want to outsource is to partners. So while defining the document, there are so many key stakeholders works within the client space, like IT infrastructure, that is key and most important. And second thing is skilled human resources that is required for this project, and training details, quality, and the product that services they're going to provide. And definitely, yes, last is the location and where to operate. Right, so these are all the definite requirements we have to prepare in our hand. Why do we have to outsource to somebody? And next is the preparation of document. While we prepare the RFP document, it is most cases we provide 90% of the information what we know about the product, whatever the services that requirement it will be, and then the resources requirement, probably the skills of people what we want, and training curriculum and pre-process training, then the quality metrics that we want to see as an output from a partner. So an RFP document is a complete comprehensive document where we explain what we want and what we're looking for from a partner. And the next thing will be, it will be circulated to all the partners who are who bid for this RFP and who want to be a potential partner with ourselves. Then once it is circulated at partner side, they will evaluate the document and they want some questions to be answered, because without clarification they cannot proceed from their end. They need some of the information which may not be part of the RFP document which has been shared. So these clarification sessions will happen maybe on a conference calls, or maybe on a documents or maybe any media, but clarifications are made it very clear for a partner to work efficiently and come back with a efficient transition plan and everything. So next comes is at client side we review the proposal document. While we are reviewing, we load a lot of checks and balances, right? So probably I can state a couple of things that what is the requirement there in the RFP, and what is the proposal document which partner has shared. So on this basis, we will try to evaluate most of the partners. Probably if I share 10 or 15 different partners, I would have shortlisted only 5-6 partners to be for the next level. So proposal document review is a key and important thing for a client to have a review. Then we shortlist the partner, and then we do the site visits. When the site visit happens, we want partner to spare at least a half a day to 1 day, so that they can share their experiences, share their good practice, share their what is the preparedness for the new business or our requirement. Basis this, we will evaluate the partner, and then finally comes as commercials, and price will be discussed, and commercials terms and conditions will be discussed, and then we identify 1 or 2 partners. This is the requirement on the last one, and then we induct the partner through a transition plan. This is primarily at a client level. What as a client we do. It may change from client to client basis the requirement, but broadly I can recollect this is the whole diagram that I can share with you all. And then partner will review the RFP document. What will happen then at the partner side? So partner side, they will initially review the RFP document, jot down all the requirements what we have. BPO industry, that we can see that there are multiple channels we can talk about is voice, inbound, outbound, chat, collections, email, social media, or any other back office work. And these are all the generic BPO requirements which will come up, and they will try to analyze the data whatever they have. For example, if they have telecom, one of the RFP that they got, then they will compare it with other businesses, how they are and how they function, and then they gather data from the other similar businesses, and then they will start jotting on the questions what they want the clarity. Clarity maybe they required is a big list. I would say normally we get around normally I would say around 300 questionnaires from the partners, what they really want to know. And then what partners will do is they'll jot down all their questions, and they'll gather all the information what is there in the RFP document, and the document, basis the document, whatever the information further they need to proceed with the working, they will pass on the information to the client. Once there is a kind of calibration happens, what is the real requirement and how to proceed and all that, WFM team will validate all the assumptions and then start working on the solution part. This is where the WFM key role evolves, right? So initial document is shared from a client, and initial document is reviewed from WFM. And from WFM standpoint, we review all the pointers which are stated in the RFP document, what is that is needed and how to proceed. There are data available in RFP document. There are some data which are missing in the document, or which are furthermore informative, which can helpful for them to derive a very optimized WFM solution. Then after that, WFM will do their homework, like solutioning through WFM solutions which are available. If not, then through Excel or whatever the media they want to do it, they will do it. And then finally, the WFM output is provided to the relevant stakeholders at the partner side. So in the partner side, what will happen is the WFM output is a very important role to play, because WFM is the only team which will define what is the headcount required for this business, what is the FT requirement, and how to operate, and what are the WFM recommendations, with what optimization that we can do this business, and with what is the seats and infrastructure that needs to be available for this business. So these are all the key important for other teams to work on their pricing. So this WFM information will go out to the HR team or the recruitment team. They will work on their pricing part because of XYZ skills that has been required from an employee. While they're onboarding, this should be the minimum or maximum wage that we can look at to hire. And then the same information will go to the training and other teams so that they can work on their qualitative and quantitative work towards the quality training and quality management. So if the training duration is 30 days, how we have to bear that cost, and these are the things will be assessed. And then lastly, the IT team will also get the information that what is the seats requirement, and they will work on the infrastructure that is required for a IT requirement. Probably some clients may come at a hosted model site, and some clients may not have their own capabilities to provide the IT services. So they will go end to end with whatever partner is going to propose. Right. So there are 2-3 ways of IT integration will happen. So in that context, so IT team will also create some some capex involved for this. So whole and soul, finally it has been discussed internally at a partner side that this is the seats requirement, and this is the ramp up that we have to do. These many agents has to be hired. These are the people have to be added as support staff and everything. And finally, they will come up with a two cost. One is that capex cost, what is the capital investment which is required, and then the opex, which is operational expenditure month on month they have to incur. So basis these two aspects, finally the pricing will be decided at the partner side. So let's move on to the next one. So where how WFM will start influencing the RFP. So most of the RFP document where we have a normally most of the partner side we see that dedicated WFM team who works only for RFPs, who are not used for anything else. They are dedicated because they have to review the RFP document, they have to understand the client requirement, they have to go through the optimized planning, and they have to come up with a very optimized plan to have a better price. So while they review their document, and when they come across with some of the clarifications, I just pulled out some of my thoughts that what is that really WFM team of a partner side needs, so that he can proceed with his optimized operational plan. Right. So basic thing is some of the contractual agreements, like what is the duration of the contract will be, like for example 3 years, 5 years, or 1 year, or 6 months, right? That's an example. And what is the service level targets that client is expecting, and what is the quantitative metrics client is expecting. Second thing will be the billing method, how the billing will happen. Is it transaction based billing, or is it a FTE based billing, connect minute billing, login hours billing, or etc, etc. There are so many ways of billing. So why billing is important for a WFM team, right? So based on the billing methodology, WFM plans has to adopt to the billing methodology. If it is a transaction based billing, normally as a WFM team we look at answer rate is the one that is can be turned out to be my revenue. Then I'll always look at the answer rates, where the opportunity I can grab more and more revenue, right? So if it is FT billing, it's a fixed revenue for any partner. So what they will think is, yeah, if a client has given me 100 FTEs business, then I have to be ready with only 100. Beyond 100 FTE, even though I can't bill, so I cannot carry more FTs than 100. I have to be, build a capacity planner in such a way that we don't carry any overheads in the sense which is not required. Next is a connect minute billing. So connect minute billing and the transaction based billing both works hand in hand. So in connect minute billing, you will be billed at a connect minute. Definitely, you'll also try to answer more so that you are going to grab more revenue and you don't leave any revenue on the table, right? And next is the login hours billing, right? So login hours is also similar way like FT. There are some set of kind of 10,000 hours to be billed in a month, and those 10,000 hours we will be ready with, not beyond that or not less than that. We don't leave money on the table, and we don't want any extra heads so that my cost is higher, right? So there are so many ways, right? Also, there is one more methodology of billing is line adherence. There are so many methods. So here, WFM team plays a key role. Bases the billing methodology how my capacity planner should be, right? So moving to the next one, how I can bring in the best, right? Is that cross-skilling of agents can be doable, where I can utilize agents for multiple transactions or multiple channels, where is that something allowed from the client side? If there are some restrictions from client side, we will not use it in our plan. But however, if it is yes, then definitely we have to make utilize the cross-skilling one. And then the operation hours. So there are some set of operation hours which is being. We all know that every client have their own operation hours. For example, telecom industry works 24 hours, but some of the outbound processor in any part of the world, which is restricted between 9 to 9, basis their local government mandates, right? So but in case, what if customer wants to have a call, wants to have a outbound call from the client side? So customer can choose. I want to have a call at midnight, 12 o'clock. Yes, we can do it, right? It's a with a permission of a customer. So we should know that is it something doable, right? Extending operation hours will give, but definitely better utilization of your capital investment of seats and facility, right? So operation hours is a key metric that any WFM as a person we have to look at. The next thing is that agent mix, where how do we want to plan? In our capacity planner, that how to mix the agents, like in office on a brick and mortar level, how much agents we want. We want to operate with 70%, and then 30% will be distributed over part-timers, flexible shifts, temporary staffs, contractual hiring, or work from home solution, right? And in this solution, because of this today's COVID situation, we normally come across with most of the clients definitely will come back with a work from home solution where they want a clear, business continuity plan, right? So work from home is something that which is going to come across in our future life. And with this, what is the efficiency that we get, right? Work from home solution can help us in many ways, right? So you in the capacity planner, we are the people who will decide when the agent has to be logged in, right? So this is the base schedule. We will see the over and unders. Wherever we have unders, we will try to hire people on those unders intervals. Like if your peak is morning 10 to 12, then you'll hire work from home solution people only for those morning peak hours to be covered. Rest of the time we don't need them, right? So we will hire the people who are ready to work only within those hours. So your scheduling efficiency will increase. So work from home solution will reduce your transport cost, right? So there are so many aspects of it. Approximately, I would say around 25% of the in-house to in-office work style to work from home solution will give a benefit around 20 to 25% basis the uh, uh, partners and basis the client work from home solution, right? That's about it. And next is for you to develop a very accurate and very optimized plan. Definitely, we would need interval, intraday pattern, call profiles where or chat profile, whatever it is, and basis which you can run scenarios and understand how much headcount is required. And definitely, yes, average handling time. And then is the service goal. Service goal can be anything like 80-20 or 90-10 or whatever it is. And also some clients will have abandoned as a service goal. Some clients will have a ASA, average speed of answer, as a goal. And some clients will have a turnaround time as a goal or line adherence as a goal. So basis their nature of the business, they will decide their service goal. Why service goal is important is primarily because it will define the client operation. Now, if client has a very stringent service goals, why he should have a very stringent service goal is an important question, right? So, uh, if I talk about two different nature of business, one is business to business and business to end user. So two different wings of customer will be dealing with, right? So one is business to business. So in business to business, one failure call might end up resulting around 100 to million customers as an end user. In that context, if it is a business to business workforce situation, the client will definitely expect a very stringent service goal as probably 1% abandoned or 99% should be answered in 5 seconds or something like that, right? So that is one example. So if it is a business to end user, so normal telecom players, where they have a mass customer, or bank, they have a mass customers. So they will have a different service goals like 80-20, 90-10. Basis their organization structure, how they want to improve the customer satisfaction. So service goal always defines the customer satisfaction and the type of business the client is doing, right? So next one is definitely is what is the shrinkage that we are going to plan, whether it is can be in office shrinkage like training, meeting, coaching, whatever that will happen inside office, or some of the aspects which is part of out of office, which is absence, whether it can be planned absence or unplanned absence, both, right? So next thing is also required for recruitment lead time, pre-process training, and what is the training duration overall. This is to primarily to build a planner. Why we should build a planner? It's a question now, right? So earlier days, I've seen that uh, any partners at WFM RFP team used to share a single snapshot. It will contain monthly volume or a weekly volume. What is the HT? What is the service goal? What is the planned and unplanned absenteeism? And what is the attrition? And what is the final headcount and FTE requirement? So will it help the business to come up with a better strategy of a new customer? No, it will not. So normally we have to prepare a very comprehensive plan which will have a visibility of whatever the horizon of the business, right? So it can be a contractual period of 3 years. Let's build a 3 years plan, right? So some of the businesses are very dynamic in nature. If I have to example healthcare or e-commerce, they have a very dynamic nature of business where the requirement will shot up to 200% for just for a span of 1 month, and they'll come back to normal position, right? It will happen once or twice in a year, right? So how do we work it out to meet the dynamic requirements? So why the planner is required is while you are planning for these kind of dynamic requirement to address, you have to build a planner so that you will show when the flex agents or the contractual agents will come in and when they will exit, so that your monthly costs are aligned, monthly budgets are aligned, and your monthly revenues are aligned. So it's not that you will hire full timers for all throughout the year and you will carry the overheads, which is not required. So it is always recommended that we as a WFM team, while we are working for a solution for a WFM RFP, we have to prepare a very comprehensive plan which will contains everything. It's like your regular business capacity planner is same as your RFP planner, and the same planner is used by the finance team to work on the price, right? So they will identify what is the revenue there, and they will identify what's the cost parameters there, right? Basis that, they will come up with a very appropriate price, and that will help us to win the business, right? So that's why the question will also happens on a recruitment lead time, pre-process and process trainings, and what is that is all required for a induction part of the agents. Then comes is your production attrition and hiring and training throughput or whatever it is, which is definitely is another parameter which will hit your cost. Definitely, yes. One of the key metric is the HT learning curve, because when we talk about transaction billing or the connect minute billing, it is always HT does matters, right? So when the HT is being considered as a BAU, because our client will always expect to operate at a standardized HT that he has operated, so he will expect standardized HT. But in a regular business planning of our own businesses, we cannot operate at a standardized business, standardized HT, because there are too many things will happen in the business. One is levers and joiners, that is attrition rate and your backfilling. And second thing is a ramp up, which will happen, and third thing is a ramp down, which will happen. So all these three metrics, right, will influence your HT. So AHT is always should be a constitution of your new joiners and the BAU, people who are there, and the learning curve bucket, whether you can segregate it at a day level or at a week level or you at a month level or whatever the ways you want to do it, we have to do it, and we have to come up with a overall weighted average HT to understand at a business level what is the HT that we should plan, right? And last two more things is definitely, as if it is a chat or a message, definitely we look at concurrency factors and how the actual planned concurrency and what is the real concurrency that we are going to achieve, right? So we might plan in the sense we might adopt to a two or three concurrency chat to any person, but in reality we cannot achieve that. We all know it, because your operate basis your operation hours and basis your business constraint, basis the volume, basis the agents available on the system, right? Basis forecast deviation, everything, the actual concurrency will not be same as you have adopted to the system. For example, if you adopted to a system of three concurrency to all agents, you might end up achieving 1.5 to 2.5, not more than, not beyond 2.5, right? Because your ups and downs are always there in the business. So it's important for us to understand, if it is a two concurrency, if it is a three concurrency, what is that we are going to achieve in reality, so that it will not impact my revenue part of it when it comes to transaction billing, right? So it's a key thing to understand for us. And the next is very important thing is the site specification, right? So which site we are operating, which country we are operating, which state and which city. So every city, state or country has a different labor laws, and we have to abide to it, and we have to honor it, and we have to plan our schedules, planning everything based on the labor laws, which will strictly guide us to do, right? For example, 6 days working in a week or a 5 days working in a week, right? Or 8 hours working in a day or 9 hours working in a day. So every country has a different work rule altogether. So in India, it is 8 hours and plus 1 hour of break, two tea breaks and one half an hour dinner or a lunch break. Wherein Philippines will follow something different, right? So there is 1.5 hour break, two tea breaks of 15 minutes and 1 hour of a deal or a meal break, right? So every country and every state has a different work rule, and we have to abide this. And because the RFP proposal is always at a global level, and and it's at a site level we have to manage, it is important for us to know what is the state labor law states, and we should understand and we have to plan our activities basis the labor laws. And finally, if there are some informations are missing, maybe anything, right? So we as a WFM team, we know the world, we know the global workforce management, and we know most of the entities of clients, whether it can be e-commerce or whether it can be hospitality or whether it can be airlines or can be healthcare. We should be in a situation to make assumption and uh, and to be safer side, yes, we have to take sign off from the site leaders and all that, but yes, we should take our own assumptions to come up with a very accurate solution. So what is this WFM solution then? So WFM solution is always looks at a couple of things. One is kind of universal agent model where agent can support anything of the business, whether it can be email, chat, voice, inbound, outbound, whatever, which is guided by the client, or the dedicated model where agents are dedicated for voice, dedicated for email, dedicated for chat. I'm taking voice, email, chat as very specific because we all know, we all worked on it. I don't want to take messages or some other medias of channels which customer interacts, because that will, I don't want to complicate in this small meeting or discussion. So those are the two things we always look at. And what is the solution that we want to provide? So definitely yes, human resource requirement. That is the primary your OPEX expenditure, monthly expenditure as a salary or benefits that employee will be benefited out of it. And seat requirement, where what is optimized seat requirement is required for the business to run. Why seat requirement or the seat turn ratio is very important is uh, this is the requirement of a client, right? So you might get two options to operate in a system. One is to answer 100%, or one is to operate at a optimized level where I'm not compromising on my service goals, but I'm meeting service goals. But uh, some agents will be in the office, but they'll not don't have to log in at that time. So I don't want to invest on my seats, right? So if my, in an optimized manner, just to meet our service goals, if my seat requirement is 100 seats, I'll just go with 100 seats. And if it is a very elaborated or a very customer oriented plan, then I'll plan for 100% of the calls of the agents available on the system to log in, where I may need 110 seats. Why have to invest on 10 seats more, right? So there is a capital investment on it. That's why seats requirement is very key role, plays a key role in the pricing part and in the RSP as well. So next thing comes is ramp and steady state capacity planning. If it is a ramp up, ramp down, how to deal with this. If it is a very short ramp and it's very for a small period of time, what are the blenders of agents that we have to look at, like part timers or contractual employees and all that. That we have to think through and create a capacity plan. Infrastructure requirement is definitely yes, how many cabins required, how many cubicles required, and how many training rooms required, because infrastructure doesn't talk about only the seats requirement. Infrastructure talks about more on your training room requirement, because as we are creating a ramp plan, we know how many training batches will happen, how many concurrent batches will happen in a day. Basis that how many trainers required and how many training rooms required is also one of the requirement in the infrastructure, right? So next thing is cross skilling anyways, and then optimal occupancy that we can run with. So when we take input from the clients, so we run some scenarios, WFM scenarios, like SLA metric based runs, or FT based scenarios, or the line audience based scenarios, right? When we do all of this, and we have to always look at the what is occupancy that is going to be uh, part of my business plan. Why occupancy is required is you have to plan it in your capacity planner so that you don't have to run your scenarios at a week level for around 3 years. It is going to be a huge task, right? So we'll come up with a peak volume, non-peak volume, and average volume kind of a scenario. We run the scenarios and we come up with some occupancy, and that's the optimal occupancy that which we can operate this business to meet service level of the expectation of the client, and basis that the capacity plans are built. Then obviously, yes, your support staff requirement, where to run the 100 FTE business, for an example, what is the trainer requirement, what is the soft skill trainer requirement, quality people requirement, SME requirement, team leader requirement, managers, site managers, and if they want, if the client mandates that they want a project manager because they have to be a black belt or a green belt, that's also a requirement. All this comes with a cost, right? So support staff requirement is also plays a vital role in my cost and pricing, right? And last thing is a WFM recommendation, where I can say that this is most and vital thing, because when we plan for any business, for example, if I have to meet some service goals, maybe 1 or 2 weeks or 1 week or 1 day or a 2 day, we will not be able to have a visibility why we are not winning. We will have the visibility, and but we are not able to meet that one particular day or one particular interval, because that will spoil the entire cost of the business. So, what is important in WFM recommendation? Right? Normally, when pricing team always looks at the revenue part, they will take WFM input. For example, if one client says 95% of the calls is expected to answer and 5% is abandoned, and we plan for 95%, right? And uh, pricing team, the finance team will take 95% is the appropriate number that can be materialized in the revenue part of it. So in some days, my volume goes up to, I mean, double the size of the same, and we will not be able to meet in those hours. We will normally show our service goals, what we gonna meet in those intervals, and by how much we are short. But at the same time, even though you're missing your service level at that interval or at that particular day, at an aggregate level, at a month level or a day level, you are meeting your service goal. But in those intervals, you cannot cap your answering capacity at your 95% goal as your target, because you can answer more than that, because volume is there but we don't have people. But with whatever the capacity of the people, we can answer more calls, that in turn is a more revenue. So these kind of small things which is can be realized in a RFP capacity planning, that will be very realistic in the I would say better pricing. Right, moving to next, what is the WFM output? So WFM output and the business input, right? So what is the business input? So what is the recruitment process? Business input we need. Process training, pre-process training is an input. Attrition, shrinkage is a input we need. Gig and contingent workforce is what we're looking for, and other site specific this one assumptions. And then site transition team and site heads will take a decision on what all the inputs provided are accurate or not accurate, and they will take a final sign off. If there are no information, uh, the site heads will take a final decision to go with what is the available, this is whatever available data, what they can go with, right? And then finally the comes is WFM output, is as we discussed, FTA requirement, seats requirement, and with our recommendation. So this is a overall comprehensive overview of how the sales process happens within any third-party partners, how they will align their talent and capacity and the planning, which are on the left-hand side. You can see is the phases, how they will phase up, like activities, deliverables, roles, and which team can be IT or a pricing. And on the right-hand side, when you start moving from left to right, it will be stages from 0 to 8. Now in this first stage will be your sales team will create some channels wherein they will identify the potential clients, and they'll come up with their pipeline of these are the new clients which are going to come for the RFP, and better be prepared, and what are the strategies should be planned. and the opportunity is created within that RFP, that what is that we can bid and what not. So we have to identify our opportunity, because 100% of the opportunity, 100% of the RFP requirement may not be your partner's 100% opportunity for the bid. So we have to identify our opportunity, what we are bidding and what for we are bidding, right? So it is key for us to understand. And next, in the next level, once we identify the opportunities, then a strategy is prepared, like which team work on what, and some vertical mapping will happen, some client mapping will happen, and accurate plan is created, and then the solution part will start. Once the solution part is started, so I think all the business leaders will be present from each and every respective verticals, maybe HR, maybe recruitment, maybe training quality, and business sets of operation, finance team, IT team. All these people will come for a call, or come for a meeting, and finally come with a better solution that they can offer. And then last thing is, once the proposal is created, then the negotiation will start. And after the negotiation, contract will approve if you're shortlisted, and then the transition plan will start executing. Right. So all this from a partner side, and from a client side, what it is. So from a client side, normally we see certain parameters how to evaluate a partner. It is very important for them to understand what partner does, right? So it is very important for client to understand what are the RFP norms that I have provided, and what is in the proposal, how much is deviating. For example, I have asked for a 10,000 seater in bank in India, but partner has proposed 5,000 seater in India and 5,000 seater in Philippines, right? So it is deviating. Maybe second site strategy, maybe second thing, maybe I might have asked for service goal of 90-10, but partner would have come back and they can achieve 1% better, right? Even though they are giving some better, I don't want better. So clients are very specific in their mind, and they want certain service goal to be met. That is has to be met. And they don't want really exceed their expectation, or not ignore their expectations, right? So this is very important, that we have to adhere to the expectation of client, and we should not deviate from our RFP requirement. And the second most important is the site and location. As I mentioned, client is looking at India and India as a solution, and what is that has been proposed in the RFP document, right? For example, if Bangalore is a proposed site of a client, or partner, then which part of Bangalore it is, and what is the resource availability is there in part of the Bangalore, and is that public transport is available in that particular location of the site or the infrastructure, and will the partner will only provide transport to the employees, how they can pull in their employees there and exit from there, what is the site advantages they have to list it down, and it's very important for any partner to do it. And manage, definitely, as management operations, definitely any client will always look at the people who are going to manage this business. What's their commitment level, right? Do they really understand the requirement from client, and have they really worked in a similar kind of industry where a client is operating? All these are very important to show up, right? Otherwise, client may think that this team is really not educated enough to handle my business. That's how the opinion may come out. And the next thing is recruitment and HR policies. In recruitment, there are many things any client would definitely look at. What is the hiring numbers at a week level or at a year level, and how they are going to pool in, what is the pool availability in that locality, and probably interview to join percentage. Maybe they might have interviewed 100 people, but joining is only 1%, so 1% joining rate. So these are all the very small and minute things. Probably, yes, as a client we want to look at it. And are they have any flexibility in hiring part, like can they onboard contractual employees for just for 2 months or 1 month, or it's just a full timer they're hiring, and can they onboard part timers? My peak requirement, can they onboard few people so that they'll get a benefit of be flexible in the market? And definitely, as finally, is the work from home solution, which is a primary thing which is going to come up in our future. And HR policies, we'll evaluate how effective it is, and how organization and people practices are, and what are the employee benefits. I mean, these are all small things, but which are all really important for any client to understand. And definitely, as is training and quality metrics, what is the better practice they manage, what are the better practices they are doing, is there anything that they have done differently than any other training curriculum than the any other partners they have, right? And finally is the IT and infrastructure. In IT, definitely as IT team will have their own different methodology of hosted model or non-hosted model, but at an infrastructure level, client will always look at some specifications. There are, maybe some RFPs will also maintain some of the norms in it, right? Something like if it is an voice setup, if it is a voice-based services that if client is expecting, is there any sound absorbers they have so that there is no echo in the floor while agents are speaking to the customer? And the what is the proposed site and what's the seat capacity of the sites? How many training rooms, workstation they have? And is the workstations are spacious one between one another, so that people will not get distracted if they sit very close and all that. So normally sometimes there is a norm that 20 square feet per agent is the norm that most of the time we look at. I mean, 4 by 5 is a 4 feet by 5 feet is a spacious space that has to be meant for one agent, right? So, I mean, is the walkways are in a right way? Is there a fire exit, sound alarms? All this we look at the infra, and even we'll also look at cafeterias, where cafeterias are neatly maintained, and what's the seat capacity of the cafeteria, because if there is a 10,000 seater building which has only 100 seater cafeteria, the people may not come back if they go out for a lunch or dinner break. They cannot come back within the time slot which has been given. So all these minute things we look at from the partner side, right? And the next one is the value adds. What is the value adds that they have created for any of the partners and clients, and how they have done it? And lastly is the commercial. Commercial is a very vast topic. I don't want to talk much on it, but at least I will tell you. Commercially, we look at what is the proposed price, which is in line with my budget. And second thing is we also look at, is it underquoted or really overquoted? Definitely, yes, overquoted will may exit in the initial proposal screening method. But if it is underquoted, then it might get a chance to get the business. And how underquoted is treated from a client. So we want a transparency in the commercials. We want employees already been planned, and is there employees salary that they have planned, is really they will in that market, in that city, will they get employees and all that? We try to understand so that the partner may not run long with the underquoted price. There are some organizations we might have seen, right? So they will exit the market in very short span of time because they are underquoting just to get client onboarded. They'll underquote and they'll try to do business, but ultimately they cannot make their own money and they will exit. So any client also looks at, they don't want to waste time with underquoted partners where they have to spend time to educate them to get to the business to as they're required. And then once they shut down, I have to outsource it to somebody else. It's a waste of method and time for everyone. So normally commercials plays a very important role where we look at both the things, whether it is underquoted or is it overquoted, and the transparency of the level of granular level information that they can share, right? So for example, employee cost, as I mentioned, seat cost, whatever, if they can share granularly, I mean, try be transparent, yeah, we're okay. Markup value or gross margin that you can add, yeah, please add, and but be transparent. And that is primarily important for us to understand is the partner is making the right decision and right quoting so that we can take a decision. So also we look at, we'll understand and clear about the billing cycle, right, from start of invoice to end of bill payment and all that, and we have to abide to our own set rules that we have to plan. So this is just a small snapshot of evaluation criteria. Just an example, which is not a final one and which will not hold good for any business. Just a thought of mine, and just I showed it to you so that you are aware that what is the evaluation criteria and how we look at each and every partner and how we score it. And basis on the weighted average score, we will identify the final partner to come up. Right. So once the RFP is rolled, I think we normally roll it probably basis the availability of the pool of partners that they can bid. We will go up to 20, 25 also. Then we clarify those questions for most of them, and we review the proposal. Post proposal, we identify only 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 partners to bid for the next stage. And in the final stage, we visit the partners who are shortlisted in the first 2 rounds, right? We do site visits, we understand their potential, and then we communicate on the price, we negotiate on the price, and then finally 1 or 2 partners which is required for a business for as a client, we onboard a business to 1 or 2 partners, or maybe 3 partners also. There's a purely a business requirement, we evolve to the partners, and then the transition and the execution will start kicking in. So this is about more or less about the RFP. In detail, if I have to talk, it will take more than 1 day. It's a full 1 day workshop if I have to talk in detail of every aspect of it. But since we have a time constraint of 1 hour, so I just jotted down my thoughts. It's a broad level presentation for me. So if you have any questions, I am open for questions now. Thank you.
Thanks, Kiran, for very concise and very well articulated about RFP. I feel that without RFP skills, WFM and HRs will not survive in post-COVID, because this skill is very relevant and very much essential, without which we will not be able to make our job better, and will not be able to add value to the organizations and also to the client. Very well.
Absolutely. Yes.
We have some of the questions out here. So we have Abhijit Chewan. Let me give you access. Let me unmute you, Abhijit, 1 minute, so that you yourself could ask question. Abhijit Chewan. Abhijit, I've unmuted you.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, Abhijit.
Yes, Abhijit.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, hi. So I just wanted to understand. I'll first ask my second question that I have asked. So I would like to understand, when we say the optimal occupancy, how do we actually, reach to a point, or how do we decide that this occupancy, maybe 85% or 90% or 80%, is the actual optimal occupancy? Is there any background calculation that we do when we run the RFP?
Right. So thanks for asking this. I mean, yeah, definitely, it's a very vital WFM question for preparing the capacity plan, right? So thank you. So optimal occupancy is something that, let's see, occupancy is an output metric that we can't use it as an input metric. But however, what in a WFM tool, or what is your scheduling tool is available, even though Excel. So when you prepare a schedule for a week level volume, for example, so you will prepare your schedules to meet your service goals, not to meet your occupancy, right? So you prepare a schedule which is very optimal in nature, that you're just meeting your service goals, what is client is expecting. right? For example, 90/10. So for this, so you might have utilized 100 FTEs, right? So you back calculate your 100 FTEs, answering around 10,000 calls at 10 minutes HT. What is the occupancy you're going to end up with? So this is the back end calculation we have to do as a WFM to figure out what is the optimal occupancy that we are going to run with. And if you use to some of the WFM softwares like IEX or Aspect, EWFM or Blue Pumpkin, so you will get an output as what is the occupancy that has been you can achieve in the within the tool itself.
Yeah, sounds perfect. So it's basically we try to find out the modeled occupancy first when we run the scenario. So by just meeting the target, I would get one output of the occupancy and then baseline that occupancy as an input for maybe my staffing file, or I would consider that this
Exactly,
number is my optimal occupancy.
exactly. Abhijit.
Okay, perfect. That answers my question. Thank you. And the second question that I have is I'm talking about the other companies. I mean, very rare, but then still, when you showed that we run a scenario, different scenarios wherein we inflate part timers, we use a combination of part timer and full timer. So at that point in time, if you do not have any tool wherein we can run this scenario, so is there any other option available, or maybe we can think in a creative way to
Correct.
run that particular
I understood,
scenario?
Abhijit. So I'll answer this question.
Yeah, yeah.
So back in 2009, when I was managing scheduling team, we were also not matured enough to use IEX. Even though I was certified IEX now, at that time we were not matured enough to use that tool for a very optimal method. So we have built a Excel based model where you have, for example, if you take 1 day's volume at interval level, and you have derived your FT requirement at interval level, and then you will add multiple shifts which you can add, and then finally compute your over under and your service goals are met or not met, right? When you're adding your shifts, you have to be very look through that. Are you using only full timers, or while your base schedules are covering the base requirement, and what are the peaks and surges of the intervals, can you bake in your part timers or split shifts or any other shifts that will cover those final peak intervals? That's the way you can build your own schedules in Excel also. So that's how you define what is a full timer requirement it is, and what is the part timers work from home solution and full timer, all of it.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thanks a lot. So
Thanks.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Welcome.
Abhishek, for asking question. Now we have another question from Kapil Sadhu. Kapil, you can share your question to Kiran. Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So I have two questions. First is for seat ratio, because
Right.
we do not have any visibility at the time of our submission of RPF document. We won't have any kind of visibility on the historical, ratio of the seat utilization. So in RFP document, how should we define and justify this much of seats will be required, and why we need requirement of this much of seats, or why we are using this much of seat ratio? So is there any
Right.
specific method for
Right. Right.
this?
See, seat requirement, none of the clients will not provide you the seat requirement or the seat ratios, right? So it is for WFM team to do their homework and understand what's the seats required. For example, in the previous Abhijit's question, I mentioned that we have to figure out what is the agent requirement, right? So if you take a daily volume and you plot your schedules, and in the peak interval, if you're just meeting your service level in peak intervals, what is the seat agents are logged in? So that's your seat requirement. That's a peak staffing. Now, if you're ignoring your peak interval, but still you're meeting your service goal at a day level by averaging out the login hours through the day, uh, even then you are still meeting the service goal. When you're spreading across your human resources, then what's your seat requirement? So what's the max staff in there also, right? So this will gives you the seat requirement. For example, I mentioned 100 agents required for a business, right, to meet all your service goals and everything. So what is the peak staff login? Peak into a login is required. That will be kind of your seat requirement, where it's a dynamic requirement. And agents 100 requirement, and you just need peak seat requirement is only 70. 100 by 70 is your seat ratio, right? So that's how we have to create a plan such that we understand what is a seat, seat occupancy is also being utilized, right? Seat ratio does, works in a two different ways. One is your connect minute billing or a transaction billing, where you don't want to leave any revenue on the table, and you maximize your staff in such a way that you grab all the revenue, right? So then you use a peak staff requirement. But if it's a FTE based billing, so you don't have to look at your peak staff requirement, right? So 100 FTE is required. If it is a 100 FTE spread through the day, and you can go with your spread and make them log in, so that none of the agent will not be out of seat, because if the agent is not logged in without a system, then you're losing out your revenue. So seat requirement is a very conscious decision of a WFM, where he will not ignore the revenue part of it, and he will try to grab all the revenue. At the same time, he will look at the cost, what is the one seat cost, so that both are balanced. That's how seats are identified.
Okay, but for safer side, should we, plan for extra seats, some amount of extra seats, because seats is something which is directly, kind of connected to the capex cost, or directly,
Not
capital expenditure, because seat is something which you cannot increase in a short notice. You can hire agents in a short notice within 2 months or 3 months, but seat
so
is something which is directly connected to the capex.
correct, Kapil. So in your question only there is an answer. So that's why earlier I said we have to build a very comprehensive plan for 3 years of horizon of the business which client has mandated, right? So when you create a plan, annual plan, so you know each and every month how your seat requirement is going up and down, right? So you will take a very conscious call that first year I need 1,000 seats, second year I need 1,500 seats, right? So definitely yes, you cannot increase your seat immediately, or you cannot decommission your seats immediately. So there are two aspects of it. One is the flexibility of seats, and how you can gonna build up or build down for this. Is there any plug and plays available where there is no capex is involved, just a plug and play, right? All these aspects will come to our picture, and we have to look through which is the best option and take a very conscious decision that whether my quarter seat in incremental seats to commission seats is good, or annual seats I'll commission it once and for all. So that's a very conscious call we have to take.
Fine, that works for me. And then my second question is, should we also mention reward and penalty criteria in RFP document along with the WFM recommendation, or should we wait for our client to mention those things?
No. In most of the RFPs, you will have the rewards and penalties. It may vary from 5% to 10% of your revenue, right? So normally, while pricing, it's an operational discussion, or the operational or the site head decision that I will not plan for reward, or neither I'll not plan for penalty. I'll go neutral. That's the call they will take, and they'll inform the finance team to plan it in their budget, or they plan it in the pricing, right? Normally, in any side of it, even at a client side, we normally plan at approximately 2 to 5% reward I want to pay every year. I don't want to penalize everyone, right? So that's how it happens from client side also. That's how it has been looked at from the partner side also. In most of the partner side, they'll take 1% as their penalty, not beyond, so that if they take 2-3%, it will go, it will just increase the price.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kapil. Now we have Rahul Singh has asked some questions. Let me unmute Rahul. Rahul, yes.
Hey, thank you. Hi, Kiran.
Hi, Rahul.
So, Kiran, I just wanted to ask or understand at an RFP stage for any e-commerce business, so what kind of alerts and how we can raise to our finance team to go for a better pricing?
There are multiple aspects, Rahul. So it's not just e-commerce for any dynamic business requirement. Whether it may be airlines also, it also works in a similar way. Peaks and non-peaks through the year, and even in healthcare, peaks and non-peaks are very similar in nature. But months may differ. Months may differ from e-commerce to healthcare or healthcare to airlines differs. But throughout the year, the requirements month on month goes up and down is almost the same. So basically, we have to understand how financially we are covered at a minimum guarantee for this. That is one. Second is when you are ramping up and ramping down, what is the flexibility that you are going to bring in so that your capex is covered, and capex is I mean not a very kind of risk in stage, but at least from an opex model I'm meeting. Right, when you're definitely, if I talk about airlines, December months you'll get most of the calls because of the weather situation, flights are getting delayed or whatever the reason it may be, right? So is it good to have, if there is a 100% jump in the volume, so all that 100% jump in the volume, will you be able to answer with your flexible staff, or the only the contractual job kind of a nature, or work from home solution nature? That will bring the business to flexibility and flexible in cost, right? There are two more things that in commercials also we look at is, there are 2-3 things aspect there are some customers or the clients will agree upon. One is commercially only one price point which covers all your ups and downs, right? Second is, one is a BAU price, and second is your flexible price. You understand, or should I repeat it again? So
yes.
So flexible price means can be like a premium price. For example, December you hire 100 agents more, add 100 agents more, I'll give you hiring and firing, training cost, whatever it is. Or else you add it to that in your regular pricing. For example, if you're doing business at $1 per call, in that particular month, you can operate at $1.5 per call. So there's a flex kind of a billing that even clients will understand they know their business dynamics. So they want their service goals to be met in those hours, right? So they are also be very adaptive to the pricing discussion. So we normally do all this, differential pricing also, right? So in those time, in that flexibility billing or flexibility construct will happen in your flexible construction. So you're not building your own different seat as a part of it, but you're using your regular training rooms for call taking and all that. So you're exhausting all your resources which are available for a very marginal costing. So flexible costing is a very marginal costing that any partner has to do, and the regular BIU is whatever that they come across with their markup or whatever the cost involvements are.
Yep, thank you so much, Kiran. It explains well.
Thanks, Rahul. We'll get in touch offline. And now we have Yogendra Singh has got a question. Yogi, shoot now. I've unmuted you.
No, actually, I was just trying to help Abhijit, saying that since we run multiple scenarios while giving the solution, so we come across best fit scheduling, which gives you the best fit optimal occupancy output. So I was just trying to help Abhijit.
Okay, so I mean, I'm trying to complement. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions, friends? Okay. I don't see any other questions. Anyway, we can get in touch offline. You can join us in our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. Also, so you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have all these videos coming, coming up all there, and then follow us in our Twitter as well, and reach out to me anytime at info@globalwfm.com. Also, you can visit our website, globalwfm.com. We can certainly stay connected, and let's learn together. And great, thanks, Kiran, for making yourself available besides your busy schedule. Thank you so much for your presence with us in addressing RFP being very critical skill sets for WFM and HR and operations professionals. You really said it very well, and amazing presentation, and many more to come through on way, and look forward to having your sessions in future.